Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a live recording of a 50-minute full body flow. I don't use any props, so find just a little bit of space to move and let's get started. So find your way just to a comfy seat. Maybe we can place your hands on your knees to start, and we can kind of move our upper body a little bit. You might start with a gentle sway, kind of side to side. But we will be taking this into a twist if you'd like. So you can slow down that sway and take an inhale to sit taller. And as you exhale, start to turn and twist towards the right side a little bit, maybe moving your hands from your knees to the ground. Sit as tall as you can. Turn your gaze over towards the right side too, whether your eyes are closed or open. And just pause. Soften your forehead. Gently press the ground away from you. And just using an inhale and slowly starting to turn your chest to face forwards. Move your arms, your hands along the way. As you exhale, you can continue to twist towards the left and maybe push into the fingertips. Sit as tall as you can. Turn your head to. Just notice your breath. Your shoulders fall away from your ears a little bit, even though you might be pressing into the fingertip. And let's use an inhale just to slowly turn back to face forwards. Your hands might find your knees again. And you might take a gentle sway side to side, kind of leading with the shoulders. Maybe. And then you can slow down that sway once again and bring your hands to the ground just at your sides. Lightly rest your fingertips. And then use a big inhale to reach your right arm out and up and maybe over. And you can lean as far off to the side as you'd like. Take a big stretch. Your left hand, you might walk it away from you and then push into the fingertips. Maybe even lift your chin towards your right shoulder. Maybe you're looking up above you or towards your arm. Maybe your eyes are closed. Use a big inhale to come back up. Sitting tall again, resting your hands on the ground, maybe even add a little shoulder roll. And then with a big inhale, the left arm can reach out and up and over as much as you like. Push your right hand into the ground. Stretch. Reach. And then maybe a little lift of the chin. Take a full breath here. And use a nice big inhale to find your way back up, back to center. Your hands might find your knees one more time. And you might take a gentle sway of the upper body. Maybe the shoulder. And then slow that down again. Just come back through center. Lengthen your spine. Soften your shoulders. And take just one more breath. You can open your eyes if they're closed. You can start to make your way into table top when you're ready to do so. Maybe the hips want to go for a little more of a sway side to side once you get there. Spread your fingers wide. Maybe move the shoulders as well. And you could slow down that movement again and maybe start to extend your left leg back behind you. Tuck your toes. Push into the ball of your foot. Just finding some length through that leg. You can slide your left knee back in and switch to the right. Push into the ball of your foot. Notice your calf, your ankle. And then just bringing that knee back in and maybe another sway through the hips if you'd like, but you can start to tuck your toes under if they aren't already. Take a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, lift on up and into your downward facing dog. You might re-grip the palms of fingers. You might start to pedal the feet, lift and lower the heels. Bend and straighten the knee. Maybe a little movement of the hips, a little tip, kind of from side to side. Maybe even the shoulders start to move a little bit too. You might even turn your gaze towards your left arm and then towards your right arm. And maybe we can slow down any movement that we might be doing in our downward facing dog. Just be still for a moment. Press the ground away. Let your head, your chest get heavy. Take a nice big inhale and exhale. And then use an inhale to look forwards, and as you exhale, walk on up all the way to the top of your mat. Once you get there, you can inhale for a nice half lift as you lengthen your spine, and exhale to fold forwards and pause. Pause in your forward fold. Feel free to widen the feet. Dangle the arms or maybe hold the elbows. And if it feels good to move today, maybe you're swaying. And slow everything down. Feel the length, the back of the leg. Let your shoulders try to find your ear. Maybe even bending your knees a little bit more, bringing your belly or your chest towards your legs. If you're holding your elbows, you might let your hands fall down towards the ground. We can take an inhale and start to roll our way kind of up to standing, maybe one vertebrae at a time, maybe like a rag doll, letting your arms dangle the whole way up. Maybe your chin can also stay tucking down towards your collarbone. Find your way up to standing in any way that works for you. But once you do reach the top, you're standing tall. Take a little shoulder roll. Lift your chin from the collarbone. Start to spread your fingers wide. Maybe wiggle them around. And take a big inhale as you reach up. And then exhale to fold forwards. Inhale into a half lift. Exhale as you fall down. Inhale all the way up. Reach up. Exhale, lowering your arms, maybe taking a shoulder roll, but spreading your fingers wide. And inhale to reach up. Exhale to fold forwards. Inhale, lift your chest halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach up. Exhale, lowering your arms, maybe another shoulder roll. Can you spread your fingers wider? Inhale to reach back up. Exhale as you fold. Inhale into a half lift. Exhale, folding forwards. Let's plant our hands. Step back into your downward facing dog. You can bring your feet together if you'd like. We're going to start to lift our right foot. Your big toe might rest on the back of the left heel. You might lift your right foot as high as you possibly can. Maybe turning your gaze towards your right arm or just under it. Maybe bending your knee Opening your belly button to the right side too. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, let your right foot come back down to the ground. Take an inhale, lift the left foot, maybe. Maybe the big toe is on the back of that right heel and stays there. Maybe it floats a little, maybe it floats a lot. Maybe you turn your gaze to the left. Maybe you bend your knee. Push the ground away. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, gently bring that left foot back down. Take an inhale to look forwards and exhale, walk on up all the way to the top of your mat. Once you get there, inhale for a nice half. Lift, and as you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Reach up. Exhale, lower your arms. Add a shoulder roll if you want one, but spread your fingers wide. Inhale to reach up and exhale to fold forwards. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands, take your feet back again to your downward facing dog. Now we can bring our feet together again. Your right foot could find the back of that left heel, or you could try to cross the legs. Maybe the right big toe can touch the ground to the left side of your mat. So crossing the legs. Now we can keep our knees lifted. We could start to bend the knees and try to drop them down to the ground. But if you drop the knees down to the ground or maybe even halfway, you've got to lift them back up. So the legs might be crossed and then the knees need to lift again. Slowly, slowly. If your right foot is on that left side of your mat, bring it back next to the left one. So feet side by side, the left foot, maybe the big toe rests on the back of the heel and you stay here. Maybe you can cross your legs a touch more, bring that foot to the ground. Feel free to keep the knees lifted or to slowly, with those legs crossed, see how close you can get your knees to the ground. Nice and slow. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. And then try to lift them back up nice and slow again. And bring your left foot back next to the right one. Take an inhale to look forwards and exhale, walk all the way up to the top of your mat. Take an inhale for a half lift once you get there and exhale to fold forwards. Inhale, let's come all the way up to standing. Reach up and exhale, let your arms fall down to your sides. Roll your shoulders back and down. To stay standing for a moment, your feet can be as wide as you want them to be so that you're balanced, but make your fists take some wrist circles, a few in one direction, and then you can switch directions. You might take a moment to try to float your toes. Press into your feet a little bit more, but maybe continue to make those smooth wrist circles. You can switch directions one more time with those fists. And then let those fists go. And maybe give your hands just a little shake. If your toes are still floating, you can bring them down as well. Let your arms fall to your sides. Maybe roll your shoulders back and down, and then take a big inhale to reach up and exhale to fold forwards. Inhaling for a half lift. And as you exhale, fold, let's plant our hands and we'll take just the left foot back and into a lunge. So you can lower your back knee to start. You might even flip to the top of that foot, sinking into the hips. Find that left hip flexor. Slow down your breath here. Find your balance too in this lunge. So you can keep your back knee on the ground, or you could tuck the toes and lift it up. Take your time though, still letting those hips sink down. Still feeling that nice hip flexor stretch. If you did tuck your toes and lift your knee, try to send your heel back towards the ground behind you. Maybe you can get a little lighter through your fingertips. Just waking up the legs a little bit more. So with the next inhale you take, we're just going to look forwards a little bit. As you exhale, we're going to bring our back foot all the way to the top of the mat. Taking an inhale for a half lift. As you exhale, fold again. Plant your hands. Take your right foot back into your lunge. Maybe starting with the knee down, maybe starting on the top of the foot too. Find your right hip. Lengthen that hip flexor. Softening. Breathing. You can stay with your knee on the ground. You might be tucking your toes. You might be lifting that knee up, but keep those hips low. A nice big bend through that front knee. Just waking up the legs, maybe trying to send your heel back a little bit more too. A little bit more work, but still softening through the forehead. Breathing. With the next inhale you take, though, you can start to look forwards. Exhale, bring your back foot to the top of your mat. Inhale for a half lift. As you exhale, fold forwards. Take an inhale to come all the way up to standing. Reach up. Exhale, let your arms fall to your sides. Maybe a shoulder roll. Big inhale to reach up again, though. As you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale into a half lift. Exhale, let's fold again, planting our hands. So our left foot's gonna come back. You can have your knee on the ground. You can have your knee lifted. Find your balance in your lunge, and then maybe you'll be lifting your chest. Maybe the hands. Take a moment to find your balance. Find that nice hip flexor stretch. Maybe you want your knee on the ground. If your knee's on the ground, you might be on the top of your back foot. Your toes might be tucked, whichever you prefer. But if you're lifting that knee, tuck those toes. What are your hands going to do? If your chest is lifted and your hands are free to move, maybe they will come together in front of the chest. Your shoulders fall from your ears. Soften your forehead. Feel those strong legs of yours holding you up, supporting you. Let's take one more inhale. As you exhale, lean forwards, bring your hands to the ground if you're lifted up. Take another inhale to look forwards, and exhale, bring your back foot to the top of your mat. Inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold forwards, plant your hands and take your right foot back. You can decide. A little bit of time here. So if you want to do a combination of both, knee down, hands down, maybe working to lifting the chest, maybe the knee. Take your time though. Balance. Strong through those legs, especially if that back knee's lifted. Push into the ball of that foot. Maybe the hands find one another in front of the chest. Letting your shoulders fall from your ears. Push the ground away from you. Breathe through it. Awesome work, you guys. Take one more inhale. Let the exhale bring you down, forwards if you're lifted. Inhale to gaze forwards from your lunge. And exhale, bring your back foot to the top of your mat. Take an inhale for a half lift. As you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, let's come all the way up to standing. Exhale, let your arms fall down to your sides. Add a shoulder roll in. Now we're gonna fold forwards again. If you wanna widen the feet, mat width apart, maybe even wider than that, Just turn your toes to point forwards, maybe even in slightly, depending on how wide you're going. Lengthen through the spine, though. Your hands might find your hips. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, you can start to tip forwards. Maybe keeping a nice soft bend through the knees. Depending on how wide your feet are, you might feel better just going halfway down. You might keep going to a place where maybe the arms can dangle, maybe the hands can touch the ground, maybe your head's getting heavy and you can look between your feet or between your knees. But fold. Feel your feet pressing into the ground, maybe a gentle sway, maybe stillness. Feel the length through your legs. If you're holding your elbows or anywhere else, you might let your hands come back down towards the ground. Depending on how wide you brought the feet, you might roll up like a rag doll. You might come up with a nice, strong, flat back. Your hands may end up on the hips. Use a big inhale to lift all the way back up to standing. Depending on how wide the feet are, you might start to walk them back in together, finding the top of the mat if you aren't there for some reason, and let the shoulders roll back and down. Take an inhale to reach up, and as you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale for a half lift, and exhale to fold, and plant your hands. Take your feet all the way back to downward dog. Just keep them hip width apart. Let your chest, your head get heavier. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, our knees are going to come down and maybe out wide for child's pose. Big toes together, sending the hips back. You can rest your arms wherever's comfy. Bring your forehead down. Close your eyes. Breathe softness into your body. Now, if you want to stay a little longer, definitely do so. And if you're ready to move again, you can start to lift up. I'm just going to come to seated though. So with our legs out in front of us. And we'll keep our knees bent, our feet planted on the ground. You might give your knees a little hug or rock side to side, as always, if it feels good. We are going to be leaning back a little bit though. So bringing our hands behind us, up to you, whether your fingers point away from you, opening the chest up a little bit more, or if you want your fingers to be pointing towards your feet. If you prefer that, you can do that, or both. But have a good grip on the palms, maybe about shoulder width apart. Our feet are going to be about hip width apart too. Now we're going to lift our hips, our reverse tabletop. So nothing fancy to start. You can just start to lift your hips if they want to lift. If they don't want to lift, they don't want to lift. A little squeeze of the glutes. Press the ground away. And then you're going to slowly bring your hips back down. Now we're going to do that 2 more times in a second here with the option to try to rest on the top of the toes. We'll do the left foot first when our hips are lifted. So just optional. You can slowly start to lift again. If the foot doesn't want to get light, just leave it down. But if you can flip to the top of those toes, that heel lifted, see how much you can lower your hips back down with those toes in the stretch. And then find a sweet spot where you can untuck those toes or uncurl those toes. And gentle as you bring your hips down. And one more time, you're going to lift your hips up. Maybe the right foot, you flip to the top of the toes, the heel stays lifted. Maybe the hips stay nice and high too. Maybe you gently lower the hips down to stretch the ankle and the toes. No time to overthink this. Bring the hips up a little so that you can rest on the bottom of that foot again. And then bring the hips down and it's over. Lean forwards and take all the weight out of your arms, your elbows. Maybe hug your knees. Maybe you want some fists, some wrist circles. A few in one direction, a few in the other direction. Maybe even a little bend and straighten through the elbows. Then we're going to stay seated and you can start to extend your right leg long and bring your left foot to your inner thigh. Point your toes up, lengthen through your spine. Maybe just stay seated tall for a few breaths and maybe fold forwards. Oh, feel the length through that right leg. Just an option to move the upper body a little bit. If you want to stay here, you can though. If you want to lift back up so you have a nice long spine again, our hands will kind of rest on the ground beside us. Well, the right hand, let's keep those fingertips for sure on the ground beside us. Continue to point your toes up too if you can. And then if the left arm is free and available to move, we're going to reach it out to that left side and maybe up above us. And then maybe add a side stretch here. So if your right hand is on the ground, walk it off to the right side a little bit more. So your chest is still facing your foot. You can still look at your foot, but maybe you're tipping to the right side, adding a side stretch. And then if you are looking at your foot, you might just take a peek up towards that left arm again. And can you push into your right hand too? Push the ground away. You're going to lift the upper body off of the low back. And use a big inhale to come back up. If you're in the side stretch or if you're folding forwards, let your arms just fall to your side. Your shoulders can soften too. We're just going to bring our knees back together. If you want to bend them or have them out long, your choice, but just a moment before we switch sides. So maybe a hug of the knees. Rock it out. But eventually that left leg can come out long. Right foot to the inner thigh. Lengthening through the spine. Pointing those toes up. Stay here or fold forwards for a few breaths. Lengthening the hamstring. The calf. If you want to stay here, you can. If you want to lift, and maybe at your side stretch, lift on up that left hand somewhere to the left side of you. Right arm can reach out, can reach up and over. Point those left toes up still. Push the left hand into the ground and then reach, stretch with that right arm. Keeping your chest open towards that left foot. Maybe looking at it too. Then maybe you'll take a peek up above you towards your arm or past your arm. Wherever you happen to be, let a nice big inhale. Bring your upper body back up and back to center. You can hug your knees to your chest or send your legs out long. Maybe give them a little bit of a shake. Oh, but just soften. Soften your shoulders from your ears. Soften your forehead too. We are going to be laying down on our backs. So you can find your way down. You might keep your feet on the ground. You might hug your knees to your chest, but perhaps a little sway side to side to give the low back a nice massage. And we're going to be bringing our right knee towards the chest, or keeping it if you already have it. Your left leg, let's actually keep it bent to start, the foot planted on the ground. Giving your right knee a nice little hug though. Now you can keep your head and your shoulders relaxed on the ground, or you can lift them up, bringing your chest towards your knee more. You can keep your left leg bent, or you could straighten it now. Maybe a little point of the toes of both feet down towards the bottom of your mat. A little squeeze of your belly in to keep the chest lifted, the head lifted. Your left foot, maybe it wants to float. Maybe it doesn't. Keep pointing those toes. Now, if you have your left foot floating, bring it down. And then bend the knee too. Keep your shoulders and your head lifted until that left foot's planted again. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, you can relax your head to your shoulders. Keep a hold of your right knee for a moment, but start to relax your ankle. Maybe take a couple ankle circles with that right foot, ankle. Then you're going to let go of your right knee. Bring that foot to the ground. The left knee can come towards the chest. Just a nice gentle hug to start. Leave your shoulders, your head down. Maybe even relaxing through that left ankle. And if it feels right to do so, you can start to lift your head and your shoulders up. A little squeeze of the belly, but a nice hug of the knee too. Your right leg can stay bent, or you can straighten it. Maybe starting to point the toes down. Can you touch your right heel to the ground? And then maybe you will float that foot. It's kind of like a little bow and arrow leg shape. Breathe. You have your right foot floating. Can you touch it down again? And then can you bend that knee, plant the foot too? Take another inhale with your chest lifted. And as you exhale, rest down. And then start to relax your ankles, especially that left one. And maybe you'll add a couple circles, that left. Couple in one direction, a couple in the other direction. And then let your left foot find the ground again. You might take a little sway of the knees, massage your low back. So a couple options here. We're going to be taking our right foot resting it on the top of the left quad to start. So figure 4, where you might be staying. If you're going to stay here, you could lift your left foot up into the air, hold your legs, your figure 4. If that left foot wants to come back down though, and maybe you'll cross your legs more, trying to bring the inner legs together, kind of the knees together. Let your right foot kind of dangle off to the side, the left side of you. So if you've got your legs crossed a little bit more, the right foot's probably floating. The left foot's still on the ground, but maybe we can kind of heel toe our left foot towards the right side a little bit, just kind of trying to center the legs a little bit more if they're crossed. Try to level the hips. Your foot can stay on the ground, that left foot. You could lift it. Keeping those legs crossed, your reclined cow face. You could hold your legs somehow. Maybe the knees, the quads, maybe your fingers lightly run down the shins, maybe to the ankles, hugging the legs a little bit more, crossing the legs a little bit more. We're all feeling something through our hips. Whether you're in figure 4, great place to be, or halfway into the cow face, all the way. Few extra breath here. You're going into the cow face pose. Try to keep things level. If you feel like you're tipping to one side, can you kind of find your center through the back, hips, through those legs? Stay for just another breath or two. And then you can slowly let your legs unwind, uncross. Your feet can find the ground just side by side. Maybe taking a gentle sway of the knees, shake it out a little. And as you become ready to switch sides, since we're here for a bit of time, no rush, figure 4. It's a great place to be. Left foot resting on top of that right quad, maybe lifting the right foot up into the air. Keeping those hips level. Now, if you do want to cross your legs more, you might be bringing your right foot back down. See how much you can cross the legs from here. A little squeeze of the inner thighs together. Let your left foot kind of dangle off to the right side now. Then maybe with the right foot still on the ground, you'll kind of heel toe it over towards the left side. You might start to tip over to one side a little more. See if you can scooch around, try to level things out. And maybe the foot will float. Maybe you gently hold your leg somewhere. All the while, just trying to level the hips, the back of shoulders. Hold on to your legs wherever feels good. Enjoy a few breaths here. Let's stay For just another breath or two on this side, or a little longer if you're loving it. But we can slowly let our legs go, uncross, feet to the ground, maybe a gentle sway of the knees side to side. And keeping your feet grounded, about hip width apart. Take one bridge pose here, just a big lift of the hips, press into the feet. Think lengthening the hip flexors as you give your glutes, your back a nice big squeeze. Pull your belly button in a touch too. Lift those hips a touch more. Try to lengthen those hip flexors. Stay for just a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, gently relax your hips down. And connect your low back all the way to the ground, maybe starting to sway your knees side to side. Now you can either keep your knees bent or send your legs out long now. But we're going to let our chin, it's going to turn over towards our left shoulder. And then maybe you'll take your right hand kind of behind your head, lightly rest your fingers on your foreheads or chins, trying to find our left shoulder. And then maybe we can start to turn the head a little or lift the chin away from the shoulder, but it's still tipping over towards the left side. But maybe you take a peek past your head, above you. Maybe your head kind of gets stuck in place so that your right hand isn't needed. And you can bring it back to your side. Just laying flat on our back. Our chin is tipping to the left side, maybe nice and close to the shoulder. Or maybe there's some space between the shoulder and the chin. You might be looking above you. If it feels like your head is kind of stuck, you might use your hands just to kind of help turn your head back. So you're resting on the back of your head. And just pause. Rest your arms somewhere comfy. Notice any sensations flowing throughout your head, your neck, down the rest of your body. Eventually, if it feels good on your neck, we'll let our chin tip over towards the right side, towards the shoulder. Maybe you lift your head up a little just to turn a little bit more. Maybe your chin will stay close to your shoulder. Maybe you use your left hand lightly on the forehead to bring some space between the shoulder and the chin, but still letting the chin tip over towards the right side. You just now might be looking a little bit above you. And if you feel like you can let go of your head and just rest your arms somewhere comfy, You feel like your head is kind of stuck. Use your hands. Turn it back. Resting on the back of your head. And you might start to send your legs out long if they aren't already. Resting your arms somewhere comfy too. Once again, noticing the sensations flowing throughout you. Just finding Shavasana right from here. Enjoy the stillness. You might let your body remain still. Just take a slower, deeper breath in. And let it go. You might start to let the chin tip over towards one side, over to the other. Really wiggling your toes and your fingers. Maybe reaching your arms past your head for a big stretch. Bend your knees. Roll over. And find your way up to a comfy seat when you're ready. Oh, let's just let your eyes close one last time. Maybe bringing your hands together in front of your heart, your chest. Awesome practice, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great rest of this holiday Monday, and I will see you guys soon. Namaste.